Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Oceana. I wanted to do a video sharing my favorite book of the Bible. I really want to include more Christian content on my channel, and I'm really happy with how things are going so far, and I love the feedback that I get on those videos too. So I was thinking, what would I just love to share about my faith? And recently I did just start reading my favorite book again in the Bible, so I thought maybe I will share why it's my favorite and then some of my favorite verses in the book itself. And I hope that this just encourages you to read the book and maybe be inspired to think about what your favorite book of the Bible is. And I'd love to hear in the comments what your favorite book is. I always find it really interesting. So this is my Bible. So I will just reveal my favorite book of the Bible. It is actually Hebrews, and Hebrews is in the New Testament, and there is a whole story of why it became my favorite. So I actually took some notes, and I have 5 reasons why it's my favorite book, and then I will share some Bible verses from the book that I really like. Really the number one reason that it's my favorite is that I read it when I was in my first year of university, so I had never read it before that, and it never really stood out to me before that, but I was just thinking about what book in the Bible have I never read before, and Hebrews is one of them. So it just hit me at a perfect time, because in my first year of university it was a very big learning curve for me. It was the first time I've ever left home. I was completely on my own. I was living in dorms, and I felt very alone and scared a lot of the time. And it was just a fresh dose of hope every day that I really needed, and I just felt God so close to me while I was reading it. When I think back about it, it's really nostalgic and special for me. So in a way, I don't know if any other book could take Hebrews' place, just because of what it did for me in my first year of university, which was almost 7 years ago. Yeah, I was 17, and it was 7 years ago. Wow, going on 8. Yikes. I'm turning 25 in November, so it's almost 8 years. Yeah, so that is the number one reason. The number 2 reason, ever since the time that I read it the first time, anytime I read it again, those feelings just come back. They never fail to come back, and when I read it, I just feel spiritually refreshed. There's just something special about it for me. So it has kept that special feeling for me over the years. And so it holds true that it's my favorite. So that is another reason why it stays as my favorite book. My number 3 reason is I love what it says. I love what it's about. It's all about Jesus and talking about his authority and his love for us, how he is so good and that he saved us. And that he never is going to leave us. So it has a lot of hope, and that's what I love about it. My 4th reason is it gives my faith strength to keep persevering. Whenever I feel like either I'm feeling like I'm not good enough or I'm struggling with something going on in life, anytime I read Hebrews, I just feel strengthened by it. So it just feels really powerful, so that is also why it's my favorite. And then my 5th reason has to do with one of the verses, and it just ends with a verse that has proven true for me over and over again. And so I will get to what that is. Maybe I'll just share that one first. Probably my all-time favorite one is Hebrews 13:5 and 6. And it says, "For God has said, I will never fail you, I will never abandon you. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, so I will have no fear. What can mere people do to me?" And I hung on to these 2 verses so much throughout school. Just like, it's really hard to not let grades define your value. And I struggled with that all throughout university. This verse reminded me who I am and that the Lord is my helper, and teachers or fellow students, they can't change anything about who I am in Christ. So yeah, that's probably my favorite verse of Hebrews, but I will share a few more. So this one might seem strange, but it's Hebrews 2 verse 1, And it says, "So we must listen very carefully to the truth we have heard, or we may drift away from it." And I like this verse because it just reminds you, like, don't let yourself drift. And I drift so easily. So this verse is just a really good reminder, and it doesn't feel condemning to me. It just says we must listen very carefully to the truth, or we may drift away from it. It's just stating a fact, and it's like, oh, that is so true. So I just really appreciate that that verse is included. Oh, this one I really like. Okay, this is from chapter 2 as well. The last bit of verse 9 and then 10 and 11. So it says, "Yes, by God's grace, Jesus tasted death for everyone. God, for whom and through whom everything was made, chose to bring many children into glory, and it was only right that he should make Jesus, through his suffering, a perfect leader, fit to bring them into their salvation. So now Jesus and the ones he makes holy have the same Father. That is why Jesus is not ashamed to call them his brothers and sisters." And like, this just, talks about the salvation story, that God sent Jesus down to save us. But I just love that it says Jesus is not ashamed to call them his brothers and sisters. And just to think, like, Jesus is so much more than just my brother, but a brother or a sibling is like, that is a close relationship, and that means you have the same parents, you're bonded as a family. And I just love that picture that it shares, is like, Jesus is part of our family now, or more so, we're part of Jesus's family because he saved us. So I love that. Here's another good one, chapter 4, verse 16. "So let us come boldly to the throne of our gracious God. There we will receive his mercy, and we will find grace to help us when we need it most." So just encouragement that if you feel like you've done too much, or sinned too much for God to forgive, it says right here, let's go boldly towards God. He is gracious, and we'll receive his mercy and find grace. So I really love that. I feel like there's so many I could share, but I'm just like looking through to see what ones really stand out. Here's a really nice one, chapter 10, verse 10. "For God's will was for us to be made holy by the sacrifice of the body of Jesus Christ once for all." And I really love that it says this was God's will. It was to send Jesus to be our sacrifice once and for all. Like, Jesus was enough, and God chose to send him to us. This is a classic one, Hebrews 12, verse 1 and 2, the last part of verse 1. "And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith." So it just tells us right there, keep your eyes on Jesus and you will be okay. That's something that I always have to remember. Yeah, so that's all I'll share. But I hope that encouraged you guys. And again, I am a Christian, so that comes out in my videos, but I never want people to feel like they can't watch me if they're not a Christian. I'm not here to, convert anyone, but yeah, I just want to share my faith because it is a huge part of me and it's really special to me, and I'd love to share that with you guys. So also I'd love to hear what your favorite book of the Bible is and why, or if you just want to leave an encouraging Bible verse in the comments, I would love that. Yeah, so thank you guys so much. Other than that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.